But despite the terror, despite the voices, shadows, and whispers, a strange feeling gripped me, a feeling that I was close to being able to control something greater than any power I'd ever known, something that could give me the power to exact revenge I so desired, the power to control the fate of those who harmed Layla, no matter the price, no matter the sacrifices, no matter the losses I would pay in this mysterious and dark world. After opening the small door to the world of darkness, I felt a strange force filling the space around me, something I'd never known before, something silently watching me, as if waiting for the right moment to attack. The air felt heavy, pressing against my chest, and every breath I took seemed to pull me deeper into the heart of this dark world. It wasn't long before, for the first time, a terrifying demon appeared before me, a vast entity whose mere presence terrified me. He was enormous, his features distorted, his eyes glowing blood red, and his smile resembled the grin of the monsters from my deepest nightmares. His laughter, deep and resonant, echoed in every corner of my room, shattering the calm and instilling fear in my heart in a way that cannot be described in words. Every move he made represented a real threat, as if darkness itself was rippling around him to protect him and give him additional strength. I tried to retreat, I tried to escape, but the demon was faster than anything I'd ever known. He moved without touching the ground, approaching me with heavy steps despite his apparent lightness. His smile widened with every second, as if my laughter was the key that made him stronger, as if every feeling of fear within me fueled him and gave him life. Then he began to torture me, not only with physical violence, but also with my mind and soul, with a mixture of unbearable psychological and physical pain. Every buried emotion I had tried to bury deep within me, every guilt and every fear I held toward Layla, transformed into literal pain that seared into my heart. He mocked me, seized upon every moment of weakness, replaying it doubled, making me confront every failure, every weakness, every moment I felt powerless to protect her. I felt as if my mind was breaking, the spirit that remained within me was slowly eroding, and any attempt to understand this world would only sink me deeper into darkness. At that moment, I realized the magnitude of the mistake I had made in trying to enter this world. Revenge was not just a path to justice, it was a gateway to a world greater than anything I could control. Every step I took now increased his power over me, diminished my own, and pushed me to the brink of madness. With every moment, I felt terror consume every part of me, and every sense of safety or humanity was further removed. Even the sounds of the real world began to gradually fade, replaced by strange whispers, muffled screams, and shadows dancing on the walls as if under his control. But despite all the pain and terror, there was a tiny flame of determination inside me, a flame that said, I will continue. I will control this, no matter the cost. That flame was like a thin thread connecting me to the world I knew, to the world still inside me, and it gave me the strength to carry on, to try to control this darkness, to try to avenge Layla, no matter the price I had to pay. After the first demon appeared, I realized that the world I had entered was not just a place to play or explore, but a dark trap, an endless arena of hidden terror and violence. Night became a veritable battlefield, and every step I took into this world summoned more demons, who began to stalk me mercilessly, moving in the shadows as if they knew my every heartbeat and every thought that passed through my mind. One night, I felt the attack immediate and inevitable. They surrounded me on all sides, their voices deafening, their laughter disturbing like thunderbolts that shook the peace, and their eyes glowing a deep red, symbolizing absolute evil. There was nowhere to hide, and every movement I made seemed to open new doors to suffering, intensifying their cruelty and multiplying the pain that enveloped my being. They began to torture me in a way that transcended the physical. The psychological and spiritual pain was more intense than any physical wound. I felt every part of me being torn apart, every deep-seated fear awakening, creeping into my mind and filling it with terror. Every memory of losing Layla and every feeling of powerlessness became a weapon in their hands, weighing me down and increasing my sense of loneliness and loss. Their voices echoed in my head, whispering my name, reminding me of everything I'd lost and every moment of weakness I'd experienced before I decided to plunge into this darkness. Every time I tried to resist, they grew stronger, as if they drew their energy from my desire to defeat them, or from the deep hatred I held for the witch who had destroyed my life. I felt utterly powerless, as if the entire world had disappeared, as if this place had swallowed me whole, as if every part of my humanity was melting into the darkness surrounding me. Every step I took left a trail of terror in my body, every heartbeat trembling from the power of what surrounded me, as if the darkness itself was testing me, trying to drain me to the last drop of my strength. But amidst this horror and chaos, a small flame began to grow within me, an unbreakable will, a burning desire to survive, a desire to control this darkness, a desire for revenge at any cost. I realized that every moment I resisted these demons brought me closer to the strength I sought, and that fear itself had become part of my weapon, a tool I was learning to wield in this dark world. I felt energy flowing within me in a way I'd never known before, a strange power rising from deep within me, as if answering my call to control and respond to every being that threatened me. As the nights passed, I began to notice changes in myself. My body became faster and more powerful, my senses heightened. I could see shadows moving before they actually moved, hear whispers before they were spoken. But this power didn't come without a price. I began to sense that something inside me was moving away from my humanity, drawing ever closer, something dark waiting for the right moment to take complete control. It was a mixture of terror and excitement, a sense that I had become a part of this world, yet at the same time it refused to offer me comfort or security. In one of the confrontations, the demons attacked me again, but this time I was different. I was no longer a helpless victim. I felt power flowing through my veins, as if I had the ability to control the shadows themselves. I began to fight back, not in my usual human way, but in a strange way, closer to the magic and rituals I had learned. Every blow I dealt created a wave of darkness that resisted the demons themselves, surprising them with a power they hadn't expected. But with each victory, the terror intensified, because the demons weren't just enemies. They were a test of my ability to control my newfound power without losing myself completely. I felt that each victory brought me closer to revenge, but also brought me closer to sliding into a depth from which there was no return. I could hear Layla's whispers deep within my memory, their voices permeating the terror, simultaneously warning and blaming me, as if to say, "Don't let darkness swallow your heart. Don't repeat my mistake." And in those moments, I realized the painful truth: the path I had chosen was unforgiving. Every step strengthened my enemies, and every confrontation brought me closer to losing myself completely. But my resolve transcended everything. I knew that revenge was not just a desire, but a necessity. And that every battle I fought now was a test of my spiritual strength, my ability to survive, and even my ability to maintain a little of my humanity in the midst of this absolute darkness. After long nights of constant torture and suffering, I felt the time had come to take the initiative. It was no longer enough to be a silent victim. I had to fight with all my might, using all the spells and magic I had learned to try to control the demons that were relentlessly pursuing me. I felt that terror had become a part of me, but anger and revenge began to fill my being, surging through my veins like an unquenchable fire. I prepared myself carefully, placing the magic symbols in front of me on the table, my candles burning, and the air around me charged with the strange energy I had learned from ancient books. I felt the first ripples of power seeping within me, and I began to hear distant whispers in harmony with my incantations, as if they were spirits trying to warn me before I plunged further into the unknown. But I did not give up, my eyes shining with boundless determination, trying to summon a greater power, a power that would enable me to confront and control the demons, or at least resist them. With the first words of the recitation, the demons felt threatened. They rushed toward me with greater violence, their voices shattering the silence, their laughter echoing through my mind like thunderbolts striking my soul. I felt power surging through my body, as if I had control for the first time, as if I were able to confront everything around me. But everything was quickly reversed. The magic I had tried to use came back twisted and strange, as if responding to a greater, mysterious force that had been lurking all along, a force beyond my control. The pain began to creep up on me again, this time more intense and more intense. Every part of my body screamed, every inner weakness and every deep-seated fear was summoned to strike me harshly. Even the simplest movements became impossible, and every attempt to fight back the demons only increased their power over me, as if they drew their energy from every feeling of confusion and weakness within me. I felt darkness surround me from within and without, as if it wanted to swallow me whole. The sounds were intermingling, strange whispers, distant screams, and even the echo of my own incantation seemed to mock me. Everything was getting worse, and every moment tested the limits of my resilience. I felt my soul slowly erode, and the obsession with revenge began to transform me into something else, a merciless entity that could swallow up whatever humanity remained within me. Every sight, every shadow, every whisper in the darkness reminded me that the path I had chosen was fraught with danger, and that every step I took could be my last. Yet, despite all the pain and terror, a small flame of determination remained burning within me. That flame was saying to me in a faint but resolute voice, "I will not give up, no matter the cost, no matter what this path costs me. I will find control. I will impose my will, and I will not let anyone, no force, swallow what remains of me." In that moment, I felt that I had entered a battlefield greater than anything I had known, and that every moment, every breath, every whisper, was a test of my strength, my will, and my ability to survive in a world that knew no mercy, a world that could swallow a person if he was not strong enough to face everything that lurks in the darkness. After the catastrophic encounter with the most powerful magic, I felt as if the world around me had transformed into a living, breathing entity, observing my every move. Every shadow in the room, every whisper, every slightest movement seemed to be staring at me with invisible eyes, as if darkness itself had become a living being, watching me mercilessly. The night was no longer a moment of calm, it had become a constant battlefield, testing all my remaining willpower and mental strength. In the silence of the room, I began to hear familiar voices, Layla's voice, but they were not as I had known her before. They were fragmented, distorted, oscillating between pain and blame, as if the world that had taken her from me had imprisoned her soul in a dark place that would not allow it to emerge naturally. Her screams tore at my heart, her words echoing in my head in a way that forced every part of me to shut down, as if she were trying to deliver a mysterious message, one filled with warning, blame, and longing all at once. I tried to get closer to the source of the sound, but every step hit the void, as if the room itself was manipulating me, preventing me from reaching it. The sounds moved further away the closer I got, a chill creeping in, and an involuntary shiver swept through my entire body. I felt as if her voices were penetrating my soul, taking me back to a recurring nightmare, as if she were teaching me a new lesson with every moment. Every time I heard her voice, a deep sense of guilt and mortal fear crept over me, as if she were blaming me for everything that had happened, for every step I had taken toward this dark world, for every moment of weakness I had committed before plunging into this madness. Yet there was a strange connection between us, a sense that these voices were not merely my imagination, but an echo of a larger world, a world I could not escape, an echo that reminded me of the goal for which it all began, revenge, but at an unbearably high price, a price that could consume my entire soul. The nights grew bleaker, each new voice increasing the psychological horror that gradually consumed me. Sleep became impossible, and every moment of quiet felt like waiting for another scream, or for another illusion from an unforgiving world to emerge. I could hear strange whispers piercing my mind, whispering my name and reminding me of Layla, as if her spirit was simultaneously warning and blaming me, making every thought of revenge that passed through me feel heavy on my heart. Despite all this, I felt a small flame of determination glowing within me, a flame that neither shadows nor whispers could extinguish. A voice faint but firm, it said to me, despite all this horror, I must continue. I must discover all the secrets, I must confront everything that lurks in this dark world, no matter the pain, no matter the sacrifices. At that moment, I realized that my journey was no longer just a quest for revenge, it had become a test of everything within me, my strength, my resilience, and even my humanity. Every whisper from Layla, every scream, reminded me that the path ahead was fraught with danger, that the world I had entered would not allow me any chance of error, and that every step I took now could be the one that determined my eternal destiny. The following days were a mixture of terror and inner conflict. I heard voices moving around me in the room, sometimes feeling their shadows close behind me, as if they were accompanying me at every moment, trying to guide or warn me. Even the sounds of the wind and the footsteps outside would turn into mysterious whispers, whispering my name and blending with a hazy imagination that blurred with reality. I felt that everything around me had become part of this nightmare, that the entire world had become a parking lot for darkness. Deep inside, there was a constant struggle between my desire for revenge and my fear of losing my humanity entirely. I knew that every step I took toward learning the secrets of this world, every ritual I performed, could distance me further from the Alvaro I had known before all else. Yet, I felt the only way to continue was to face all fear, to face everything lurking in the shadows, no matter how much pain or madness that entailed. And in the moments when I thought I was completely alone, would hear Layla's faint voice, connecting me to what I had lost and guiding me to what I must do. Every word, every scream, was a reminder that revenge was not just a desire, but a duty imposed upon me by this world, knowing that every step could swallow a part of my soul. It was now clear that the path I had chosen was no longer a path back, and that every moment I contemplated these frightening voices, every moment I faced shadows and nightmares, brought me closer to my goal, but it also put my soul on the line. Yet, the flame of determination remained burning within me, a flame that said in a firm voice, I will not retreat. I will continue, no matter what it takes. I will discover all the secrets, and I will conquer the darkness, no matter the cost. After long nights with Layla's distorted voices, I began to feel that my home was no longer the same. Every corner, every room, was filled with shadows and mysterious movement, as if the walls themselves were beginning to come to life, breathing, and watching my every move. Things were no longer as still as they had always been. Furniture moved without reason, doors opened and closed by themselves, and curtains swayed even though the windows were tightly closed. Even the air seemed heavy, laden with the echo of strange whispers whose meaning I couldn't understand, whispers that made me feel watched, part of a game bigger than myself. I felt as if everything was watching me, and every whisper, every sound, was a reminder that I was no longer alone in this place. Terror crept into my core in a slow but merciless way, as if the house itself had become a living entity, testing my madness, my will, and the limits of my patience in confronting the darkness I had brought upon myself. Sometimes I saw shadows moving quickly out of the corner of my eye, and sometimes they took on the form of a human or a mysterious creature, and when I turned around, I found nothing. But the feeling that something else was always with me never went away. Whispers came from the walls, hidden footsteps echoed on the floor, and even objects appeared where I hadn't put them. It was as if the house itself was playing a game of deception, slowly trying to drive me insane. Some nights, I felt the ground shake slightly beneath my feet, and the air tighten around me, as if every corner of the house was watching me, monitoring my weakness, and enjoying watching me confront my inner nightmares. The closer I tried to understand what was happening, the more the voices and shadows grew louder, as if the house itself refused to let me understand its secrets. Despite all the terror, there was a strange feeling that connected me to the house, a feeling of deep connection, as if it knew something I didn't, as if it held secrets about the world I had entered and the demons I faced. Sometimes I felt as if the house itself was trying to guide me, placing hidden signs before me, silent messages about the strength I could gain and the dangers lurking if I took a wrong step. With each passing night, the house became more than just a shelter. It became part of this nightmare, part of the journey of revenge and transformation I was undergoing. Every whisper, every strange movement, was a reminder that the path I had chosen would not be easy, and that true strength requires patience and courage to face what cannot be seen or understood. But, despite everything, I did not give up. The flame of determination within me did not go out. It grew with every darkness, with every whisper, with every shadow that passed before me. I felt that every frightening experience, every moment of fear, was developing a new strength within me, a feeling that I would become capable of facing anything, no matter the cost. As I walked through the corners of the house, observing the movements and whispers of the shadows, I realized one thing clearly, that the house itself had become my ally, my teacher, and a training ground for facing something greater and more dangerous. Every moment of terror that passed me, every whisper that echoed in my head, was preparing me for the coming battle, for that final confrontation with the darkness that had begun to creep into every corner of my life, and within me. One cold, dark night, I sat in the silence of my haunted house, where everything around me had become strange and unfamiliar. The air was heavy, as if every molecule carried a strange energy. Shadows moved illogically on the walls, as if the house itself was alive, watching me, testing my patience, testing my madness. I could hear distant whispers punctuating the silence of the night, hidden footsteps on the floor, faint sounds whose source I couldn't pinpoint, but which made me feel I was no longer alone. Then something I'd never expected appeared before me, Layla's spirit. But she wasn't the same as I'd known her. Her calm, innocent features were gone. She looked confused, altered, and her eyes held a mixture of pain and deep anger. It was as if everything that had happened to me over the past few years had gathered in that moment to confront me with the bitter truth. A halo of black shadows surrounded her, sometimes shimmering with strange colors, as if the world she'd left behind had extended to reach here. I tried to get closer to her, feeling an overwhelming desire to touch her, to feel the reassurance, the comfort I hadn't found since her departure, but something invisible held me back. A wall of energy blocked my approach, a wall protecting her soul from the power I had unwittingly unleashed. Every step I took toward her was met with emptiness, and every attempt to call out to her was dissipated in the cold air filling the room. Her voice began to creep into my ears, faint at first, a distant whisper, but soon it rose and became clear, screaming as if it tapped into every part of my soul. Alvaro, you're the reason. You're the one who set them free. My heart stopped for a moment, as I felt the words pierce the depths of my soul, devouring every sense of security, turning my insides upside down. I hadn't realized that every step I took toward revenge, every ritual, every magical experience, wasn't just moving in the dark. It was opening doors to forces I couldn't control, forces I had unwittingly unleashed, forces that had given rise to the demons that were now stalking me. The pain in her voice was heartbreaking, but it wasn't just pain. It was a mixture of anger, disappointment, and deep blame that made my soul tremble. I felt as if everything I'd done since Layla's death had converged in a single moment to confront me with the bitter reality that the path I'd chosen, however motivated by love and revenge, had unleashed a horror greater than I'd ever imagined. I tried to speak, to explain, to say that everything I'd done was for her, for justice, for her departed heart, but words wouldn't find their way to my mouth. Every attempt failed, as if my soul itself had lost the ability to express itself before this strange incarnation of truth. With each moment, I saw her spirit gradually fading away, but the echo of her words still echoed in my head, wrapped around my mind like a knot. You're the reason, you freed them. In that moment, I realized the true magnitude of my mistake. Revenge was no longer just a goal to be achieved through force or magic. It had become a heavy burden on my soul, a harsh lesson that every action in this dark world has irreversible consequences, and that the path I chose would remain with me forever. I could no longer return to what I was, to my simple life, to the peace I had lost since the moment Layla left. Despite all the pain and the immense weight on my heart, a small flame of determination remained within me. A flame that, despite all the terror, told me, with a steady inner voice, despite all this, I must continue. I must face all the forces I have unleashed, no matter the cost, no matter how hard the battle, no matter what it costs me. And in that moment, I realized that the path before me was no longer just revenge. It had become a test of my spirit, of madness, of strength I had never known before, a test of my ability to confront everything I had freed from this dark world. I felt that every step I took from now on would determine my fate, and every decision would be between life and death, between control and loss, between humanity and complete darkness. Between the fear of the soul, the pain of loss, and the rage of revenge, I felt for the first time that the path was clear before me, confronting the darkness, confronting its forces, confronting myself, no matter the cost, no matter how much I had to lose everything, even myself, and even the memory of it. With every step I took into this dark world, I felt myself sinking deeper and deeper into depths unlike anything I'd ever known before. The tiny doors I'd opened before were merely a glimpse of possible worlds, but now I was on the verge of an entire demonic realm, a world sprawling, endless, dark, and filled with endless horror and nightmares. The air here was charged with a heavy energy that nearly suffocated my lungs. Every breath I took filled me with a sense of threat, as if every molecule of this place wanted to declare its power. The ground beneath my feet was almost breathing, moving slowly, like a living being watching my every step. Shadows moved freely, growing and fading, forming unpredictable shapes, as if reflecting every fear buried deep within me. Whispers came from every corner, seeping into my mind without my being able to pinpoint their source. They screamed my name, mocked me, and reminded me of every weakness and every moment of failure I'd experienced since losing Layla. I felt confused and terrified, but at the same time, there was a strange sense of wonder, something new pulsing within me, the ability to face this darkness, to challenge it, even if it seemed impossible. I saw creatures unimaginable to the human mind. Some resembled humans, but with distorted faces and glowing red eyes, watching me mercilessly. Others had strange shapes, twisted bodies, uncoordinated limbs, unnatural movements, and loud, irritating voices, screams that extended as if to extract all fear from within me. Some creatures were almost transparent, as if they were fading between dimensions, but they left an indelible mark on my soul, a feeling of coldness and unease that would not go away. With every step I took, I felt a part of me slowly disappear, a part of my humanity being conjured up in this dark world. I was surrounded by demons on every side, and every movement, every attempt to escape or demonstrate strength, only strengthened their grip on me. Every shadow, every whisper, instilled terror in my heart, as if they knew every weakness within me before I did. But despite it all, there was a small flame of determination glowing within me. A flame telling me that I had to move forward, explore every corner of this world, and try to control what seemed uncontrollable. Every moment of terror was a lesson, and every encounter with a being from this world was a test of my patience and courage. I realized the truth clearly. Entering this world was not just an adventure or a search for strength, it was a comprehensive test of everything within me. The demons had not come only to destroy me, but to test my resolve, my patience, and my will. Every step I took now was a new challenge, an opportunity, or a trap, for survival or complete loss. I was sinking deeper into the depths of this world, moving between dark dimensions, dealing with inexplicable sounds, nightmare-like visions, and creatures that devoured the imagination. I felt that the end was not yet clear, and that every moment that passed could change everything. It could make me stronger, or lead me to complete loss, until I became just a part of this eternal darkness, like a shadow among the shadows that surround me on all sides, a being without a soul, without life, without humanity. As I delved deeper into the demon world, threads of truth began to unravel before my eyes, one by one, as if the darkness itself was whispering to me what I needed to know. Every move I made, every ritual I tried, was no coincidence. It was part of a plan greater than anything I could have imagined. The sorcerer who caused Layla's death wasn't just someone seeking to control magic. He was the mastermind behind the entire world of darkness, a world filled with powers not meant for humans, powers that could crush any soul that dared approach them. I discovered that he had been watching me closely from the start, knowing my reactions before I acted, anticipating my every move, as if my entire life were an open book in his hands. Every ancient book I opened, every symbol I drew, every spell I tried to read, was part of his plan. He wanted to mercilessly push me to open the gates of demons, so that the world of darkness would become even more powerful, a place from which no innocent being could easily escape. I was merely a tool in his hands, a tool to increase his power, and I was immersed in the illusion of control, completely unaware that I was giving him everything he needed. Anger swept through me like an unstoppable storm. A feeling of betrayal, a sense that everything I had done over the past few weeks hadn't been my own free will or choice, but rather a trick this charlatan had played on my psyche, an unbearable feeling of injustice. But at the heart of this anger, I felt something else, a greater and more powerful feeling. A feeling that I was no longer just a victim, a feeling that there was a strength within me I had never seen before, a strength that could stand up to this charlatan and confront all that he had unleashed, all that I was freeing from this darkness. Each discovery pushed me to the brink of madness, but at the same time, it strengthened my resolve. I now understood the magnitude of the path I had chosen, the magnitude of the force I was dealing with, and the magnitude of the danger that surrounded me on all sides. It was no longer just a matter of revenge for Layla. It was a comprehensive test of everything I could endure, my will, my courage, my ability to confront the absolute evil I had unleashed with my own hands, without realizing the full consequences. At the heart of this realization, I felt a small but burning flame glow within my soul, telling me, now you know the truth, now you must face him, no matter the cost. A strange sense of responsibility mingled with anger and a desire for revenge, a sense that every moment of pain and suffering had not been in vain, that the time had come to take the initiative, to no longer be a mere tool in his hands, but an adversary capable of responding and confronting. Every step became calculated, every movement conditional, every thought focused on a single goal: to confront the charlatan, to confront all the dark forces I had unleashed, and to regain some measure of control over this world in which I had lost everything except my will. I felt my soul connecting with the power I had learned, the power that had come out of me during the ritual, and that everything was now coming together for a decisive confrontation that would determine my fate, and the fate of everything I had unleashed into this darkness. After discovering the horrific truth about the sorcerer and his murderous plan, I felt that every moment of terror I'd experienced hadn't been in vain. Every ghost I'd encountered, every faint whisper Layla made in the darkness, every shadow that moved before my eyes, had now become an indomitable impulse to stand up to him head-on. I was no longer the man hiding behind his fear. I was an angry force, my heart burning with revenge, my mind sharp as a sword, and my soul ready to plunge into the depths of darkness to confront him. I found him in a dark room, filled with distorted symbols and burning candles, casting shadows on the walls as if the place itself were breathing with terror. The air was heavy, charged with a strange energy resembling the struggle between life and death itself. He looked at me with his piercing eyes, as if they knew everything before I even moved, and his smile was a mixture of arrogance and absolute knowledge, a smile that said, "You are small compared to my power, and you are in my world now." I couldn't control myself and rushed towards him, using all the talismans and rituals I'd learned over the weeks. Every talisman I tried to summon came back to me twisted, like a monster awakened from the darkness, and every movement I made sought a weak point to counter a greater force, challenging all my abilities. The struggle wasn't just physical, but psychological and spiritual. Blood was flying, symbols glowed as if on fire, and screams echoed through the air as if the room itself was in agony from our clashing powers. Every second felt like a century of agony, and every moment a test of my will, my ability to confront absolute power, to confront evil emerging from worlds unknown to humans. With every moment, I felt anger and grief combine within me, empowering me with hidden strength. This was no longer just revenge for Layla. It was a test of my will, of everything I could endure, of everything that made me a human being capable of facing the darkness without fear. Then I began to notice gaps in his strength, brief moments when absolute dominance dissipated. His strength wasn't as complete as it seemed. I used every bit of knowledge, every movement, every tiny spark of will I had built up inside me. I began to assert myself, fighting with both strength and reason, reciting complex spells with precision, moving symbols in a way that harmonized with my energy, until the demons he had previously unleashed began to lose their grip on the space. The struggle lasted for hours, and every second felt like an eternity, with the feeling that any moment could be his last. The pain was both physical and spiritual. burning through every hair in my body, making you feel as if your very soul was on the verge of exploding. But the will that had begun to build from the start remained unshaken. The flame of vengeance that lit my heart never dimmed. It grew stronger with every blow and every spell. At one point, the warlock seemed to hesitate for the first time, as if the power of light I had conjured within me was shaking him in a way he had never known before. I began to see tremors in his symbols, in the demons he summoned, and everything began to unravel little by little. The moment was decisive. If I could maintain my focus, invest all my knowledge, every spark of anger and grief, I could turn the tables in my favor. As I fought, the world around us began to crumble. Shadows shifted, candles flickered and flared up for no reason, and the screams became a melody resembling the struggle itself, as if the entire place had become part of our war. I felt an unexpected force creeping up on me, something inside me I hadn't known existed, a force mixed with deep sadness, pain, and a desire for revenge, a force that made every spell and every movement sharper and more effective. And during these moments, there was nothing but confrontation, no fear, no hesitation, no regret. Everything was clear. If I couldn't defeat this sorcerer now, if I couldn't control what I'd unleashed, everything was lost forever, everything, including myself. The struggle continued, blood and colors intertwined, symbols glowed, and the screams grew louder and louder, but deep down, I felt stronger, stronger than ever. The flame of revenge, which had begun as a small fire, was now an unquenchable flame, a flame that could take on darkness itself. After the bloody confrontation with the sorcerer, I felt the entire world change around me, as if the very fabric of reality had been torn apart, swirling around me in strange colors and shifting shadows. The blood on the floor, the symbols painted on the walls, the candles burning for no reason, everything echoed my new power and the world I had irrevocably entered. I felt my body and soul merge with this darkness, and that I was no longer just an ordinary human being, but a new entity, breathing between reality and nightmares. The power I had acquired was so immense that every movement, every whisper, and even my silence pulsated with an unnatural energy. I no longer moved spontaneously. Every step and every glance was calculated, fueled by subtle currents of energy I had learned and the talismans that had become a part of me. The demons I had once feared were now partially under my influence. I could sense them, observe them, and sometimes impose my will on them. But this power did not come without a price. I lost a large part of my humanity, a part of my soul that was no longer the same, and I became trapped between the human world and the demonic world I had chosen, unable to return to any normal life. The house I lived in was completely transformed. Every corner, every room, was filled with shadows and whispers, as if the walls themselves were pulsing with the dark energy I had acquired. Doors opened and closed by themselves, furniture moved without reason, and curtains swayed as if the wind was controlled by an invisible spirit. I felt as if the house itself had become a living entity, watching me, testing my patience, and constantly challenging me. Every wrong move, every moment of weakness, was enough to draw the darkness deeper around me and remind me that I was no longer alone. The memories of Layla never disappeared. They often whispered to me in a distorted voice, a voice filled with pain and anger, reminding me of everything I had lost and that the path I had chosen was not just a journey of revenge, but an opening to doors that could not be easily closed. Guilt became a part of me, a part of my strength as well, because it constantly reminded me that every action in this world has a price that cannot be ignored, and that any wrong step could lead to the loss of everything, including my very humanity. As the days passed, I began to notice the physical and psychological changes that this darkness had brought about within me. My eyes took on a strange glow, sometimes glowing red in the dark, and even my voices and movements carried an unnatural energy. Every feeling of fear or anger turned into a force I could harness. Every wound or pain became a source of energy. Every nightmare became a training exercise to confront what the human mind could not comprehend. But with all this strength, I felt a deep emptiness within me, an emptiness like an echo of darkness, reminding me that I was no longer a complete human being, but an entity suspended between two worlds, between strength and weakness, between light and darkness. The nights became endlessly long, filled with nightmares and inexplicable visions. I would wake up terrified, surrounded by shadows moving rapidly out of the corner of my eye, objects I hadn't placed in their place suddenly appearing, and distant screams and voices filling my ears. It was as if the entire world had come alive, wanting to test my strength and patience. Every whisper, every echo, every movement reminded me that I was no longer living a normal life, and that going back was no longer possible. Amidst all this terror, I felt a small flame burning within my soul, a flame telling me, "You didn't get here in vain. Everything you've been through is part of your strength. You must keep going." The flame of revenge, the flame of curiosity, the flame of the desire to control everything around me, became an inner pulse that drove me forward, despite all the pain, despite all the darkness. I finally realized something clearly. I was no longer just the Alvaro that humans had known, no longer just a man grieving the loss of his beloved. I am now a new being, a mixture of strength, darkness, and shattered memories. I live in a fragile balance between strength and loss, between revenge and loss, between a fading humanity and a darkness that threatens to swallow me all up. Every step I take, every night I live, every confrontation with demons or hidden forces, is a new test, a new training, a chance to survive or to plunge completely into chaos. The end wasn't fixed, it was open-ended, as if it were an invitation to all the monsters and dark forces yet to come, to all the struggles that would test my psyche, my strength, and even my sanity. Alvaro is not finished yet. He has become a different being, a powerful, terrifying person living in an unforgiving world where revenge and darkness, strength and loss, intersect, and at every moment, he faces one undeniable truth. There is no going back to what was, and no salvation except through the same strength that has become a part of me. We've reached the end of this dark chapter of our story, but the world of horror is far from over. There are still more mysteries and secrets waiting for those who dare to discover them. If you enjoyed the video and this journey into the dark worlds, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to always stay up to date with every new and terrifying story. Like the video if you want us to continue exploring unimaginable horrors, and share your opinions with us in the comments. Every interaction from you makes this channel stronger and brings us closer to the world of horror we all seek.